Welcome to the Women Writing Podcast. I'm your book coach, Lisa Kovala. I'm an author accelerator, certified fiction and memoir book coach, and the author of Like Water for Weary Souls, Sisters Winter War, Surviving Struthoff, and the upcoming Hygge House Cozy Mystery Series. As a Finnish Canadian, I also love my coffee. Take a coffee break with us as we chat about all things writerly with authors and publishing industry professionals. And don't forget to sign up for my Women Writing newsletter on Substack and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great content. In today's episode of Women Writing, I'm having a coffee break with Tara Atore. Tara writes fantasy and sci-fi with queer characters, subtle romances, and epic scales. She loves playing with common tropes and twisting her plots around. When not writing, Tara Atore is still with a book at hand and cat in her lap as a designer. She helps indie authors bring their visions to life through maps for their books, beautiful typesets that draw the eye, and covers that speak to the reader. Hi, Tara. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Lisa?
I'm so good. Thanks for joining us on Women Writing. Are you a coffee drinker, tea drinker?
Neither. Water all the way.
Water. I'm a big water fan too, but can't give up my coffee. Not just yet.
I mean, a glass of wine here and there, but
Okay. Love that. Yes, absolutely, for sure. And are you taking a break from anything in particular today? What kind of what was on your agenda this morning or
well, I mean, it's actually evening here, so it's at 8 o'clock at night where I am.
where
So
are you?
I am in Eastern Europe, so I'm in Bulgaria.
In Bulgaria. Yay. I think you might be the very first person that I have interviewed from Bulgaria. So this is very exciting. Woo
That is
woo.
awesome.
Shout out to all your Bulgarian fans.
For sure, for sure. So yeah, so it's the end of, even though I do work late, it is the end of the workday, so it's
Yeah.
nice time to relax. PlayStation after this,
Yes.
basically.
Excellent. Perfect way to end the day. Just relax into it. So I'm so excited to talk to you because you have a lot going on and you are a busy person with everything you're doing. So I always ask this question because I'm fascinated by it. Have you always been a writer? Is it something you dreamed of doing since you were young? Did it come to you later in life?
I mean, when I was little, I was much more of a reader. So I
Okay.
really liked reading. However, writing is actually how I learned English.
Okay.
Because so we moved out of Bulgaria to Canada when I was 10 years old. And I still remember learning English here, like in Bulgaria, the classes we were singing the bingo song. Like
All
that's how
right.
we learned English. And then I moved to Canada and I'm asking my teacher if I can borrow a rubber. So after that, I was like, okay, I need to learn English.
I think that's
So
hilarious. Yeah.
that's when I started writing little by little. And this is gonna show my age, but MSN groups.
Yes, of
Yes,
course.
yeah, RPs with like on MSN groups with other people, and then I was like, okay, I don't want the other people. Like I want just
Yes.
me. And little by little, I got very, very into it, and then I took a break for a very long time
Okay.
before I got back into it, and I got back into it seriously, like seriously enough to
Okay.
publish.
Oh,
So
I
yeah.
love that so much. How long did you spend in Canada before you moved back?
I actually moved back to Bulgaria last year. So that's yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, so that's what is it over 20 years. I also spent 3 years living in the UK. So
okay.
it's a mix between those.
So you
Yeah.
had a really cool international experience. Can you tell us where you lived in Canada? I'm just curious. I'm in Northern Ontario.
Oh, I was in Mississauga near Toronto.
Of course. Oh my gosh, we're practically neighbors.
Practically, yes, yes.
Only four
Yeah.
hours north. So
Well, I
great.
would say only 2 feet of snow difference, but
That's
you
true.
can say
Usually.
yes.
They've had a little bit of snow lately, but oh, that's amazing. I love it so much. So then you got into writing seriously. And what did that look like for you? Did you start taking classes? Did you read a ton in your genre?
So classes, no, I actually my undergraduate studies was actually in writing, in professional writing. And
Yes.
that's actually when I stopped writing. It was
Oh,
around
tell
that
me about that. What was that experience like?
horrible, horrible.
Oh,
I have to say, first year, first lecture, professional writing major, lecture hall of 800 students. And the first thing our professor says is, don't become a writer full time, you can't do it.
oh
And
no.
It was so
That
discouraging.
hurts.
Yes, yes, and I was one of the people who listened to him in that
Right.
lecture hall.
Right.
It was so discouraging, it was so disappointing. I mean, I had a few creative classes because it's a 4-year course, right? I had a few creative writing classes, I had to write a few pieces here and there, but, I didn't enjoy most of it when I was writing it because it was like, why am I doing this? You
Yeah.
know? So, and it really, really dropped. Like I lost a lot of, I don't want to say interest, but I lost a passion for it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because of that.
Yes.
And then, so I stopped writing for a good few years, out of university, got into the workforce, not in writing at all. And then 1 year, I don't know, there was just something about it because I had all of these old works in progress that I was working on. There's this one that I call it my baby, that I think I started writing it, I want to say when I was 12 or 13, like the idea came and I kept on rewriting it because the ideas kept evolving and evolving, right? Like as you learn more about yourselves and about the world. And I was like, okay, this is my baby. I want to get back into writing it. However, I don't want to get back into writing it. I want to write a short side story about one of the minor characters from it. And NaNoWriMo was coming up.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, 50,000 words, I can do this. 3 months later, I'm at 200,000 words, and I have like about 10 books planned because
Amazing.
it's supposed to be a short story.
Yes.
And I got back into it, and I loved it.
Amazing.
Um, but I kept on because I had self-published previously, like years and years ago, a collection of short stories
Okay.
under my own name, not under my pen name. And the entire self-publishing experience was not something that I liked. But at that point, when I started writing again, I'd already been working with publishers, working with authors for a while. So I got a lot more. I got to understand the process a lot more. I had my 4 years of professional writing
Yeah.
courses to learn everything else other than the writing part. And but I was still unsure about my writing. Like, is it worth it to share? Like, I was very, very wary about it. I didn't even want to share it with friends and family. And then, and I'm going to blame a friend of mine for this. Her name's Laura. We've been chatting on Discord for a while now, and there came up this, it's called the Inkfort Press Derby,
Okay.
where the idea is they have 100 covers already designed with author names, pen names, titles, and the artwork. And the idea is you're supposed to pick a cover from it, and you have 1 month. Sorry, we have 3 months. We have 3 months to write the book, publish the book, and market the book.
Amazing.
And my friend Laura, she's just like, I'm not doing this. And I'm like, yeah, no, me neither. People are crazy. We've seen last year what they did. Like so many people went crazy. And she's like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm like, fine, fine, let's do it. And I have to admit, the hardest part about that is because we had to be completely anonymous. Nobody could know what we were writing. Like we had to be, the whole idea was to be on an even plane, right? And then within a month, I had 3 drafts done.
Yeah.
And I was super happy with what was happening. And I'm like, okay, like I'm loving this. Let's publish it. Published it through, with everything that we were doing with the Derby. Sales were one of the highest that we had out of the group of everybody that participated and finished it. And I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Right.
Like, let's do this.
See the confidence back, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And since then, I've published a novella and a short story as well. And I kept on writing. I moved. So as I said, I moved last year. So since the move until now, I've taken a break from writing. I've only been doing like plotting and planning. I haven't actually written much,
Yeah.
but I've gotten back into it and I'm loving it. And I'm still so pissed off at that professor. Every time I think about him, he just,
I apologize on behalf of all teachers everywhere. Sometimes I wonder if I don't know what it is, but I wonder if he was thinking he was doing a service to people to kind of be like, let's be realistic here. But people like yourself and myself take things to heart, don't we? Like I don't have the capacity to be able to say to some like, oh, that's you mean that could happen, but that's not my journey. I'm like, I would be devastated by that, right? So I think they
especially
don't understand how some students are going to be affected by that. And it can really kill like you said, the passion or motivation to do the work because you think, oh, like, well, what's the point? Why am I doing this? Why am I mean, you're spending money to go to do a course and to do this program and spend all this time. Oh, it must have been so difficult.
Especially because when you're at that age, and I mean, I started university a little bit earlier, than the standard, and you're at that age, you're very easily influenced. You're looking at somebody who has been in the field in some way or another for however many years. This is supposed to be a mentor, somebody respected, somebody who knows what they're talking about, and then they tell you that, and it's,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That is not a
it's,
good feeling.
yeah,
I mean, there's being realistic about the difficulty of the whole thing, but then there's um the like motivating students and helping them to see like, okay, this is tough, but you can do this and you can do this and give them sort of like you say mentorship.
yeah,
So I find that really difficult because as a former teacher, I was a high school teacher, but um, sometimes I think back and I wonder, like I try to be that person to really mentor and motivate people, but I wonder sometimes did I say something that might have crushed somebody without understanding that I was trying to be this and they're taking it that way. So yeah, I that's a concern for me, especially in the arts, because you chose that and you're going to those courses. So and I have a real affinity for students who chose the arts because it is challenging and it is tough. But like the fact that you choose it means there's a real deep reason for having to choose that career. But I love that you've come full circle back to it because I think writers and artists and creative people of all kinds, they can't really abandon it. It's always in them. Right.
yeah. It really is like it's an itch, and it's almost, and even if you, because that's one of the things I remember, because so when I lived in the UK, the reason why I moved there is because I actually did a master's in publishing at a
Okay.
university in London. And I was like, okay, so that was my sign that I wanted to get back into book stuff, whether it was because my job out of university wasn't related to books. Like I was doing graphic design, I was writing copy for marketing and stuff like that, and I didn't enjoy it at all. And I'm like, okay, no, I want to get back into books, whether not writing in this case, but I want to get back into what I love. And at that point, it's like, because that's the thing, that's what I was saying earlier, like that itch. At the beginning, I had that itch, like something was missing. And at one point, I didn't even feel the itch. But
Right.
when I got back into writing, it was like, oh wow, this has been missing. I did like, wow, it was a huge impact to get back into it for me.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so glad for you. I'm glad that you came around the background to it and that you're doing the work. So then you did your was it a master's degree in the UK? Is that what you took in
Yes,
publishing?
yes.
Okay, so did that change things for you too? Because now you're planning to work in the publishing world, which I think a lot of writers find work or try to find work that is related to literature,
Mhm.
to writing, to books, to like a lot of, I have so many friends who want to own a bookstore, right? Like they're
Who
writers and they're
doesn't?
like, I need to have a bookstore or I need to have a bookstore in a van that I can travel to festivals with. Like there's, everyone wants kind of like, whether they're editors or teachers or whatever, some, um, like foot into that world. So
Yeah.
you did your master's and was that motivating then? Did you feel like, okay, I'm in the right place?
It was definitely motivating, but it was mostly because so I've been working freelance actually since I moved to the UK. I've been working as freelance designer, and previous to that, I've been picking up a few jobs here and there, even while I was in university, picking up a few jobs here and there to do typesetting for people.
Okay. Yes.
And this was almost like, to me, honestly, my degree was almost like an excuse. That's what it felt like. It was more for me to validate myself and to have that as a way to if I wanted to work with a publisher, like in a publisher, because I had worked with a few publishers here and there. I had worked with the local press at our university here and there, but this was like, okay, this is what's going to get me into, like, get a foot in the door type of
Yes.
thing,
Yeah.
especially because like, no matter what people say, London is still the publishing capital of the world. I know New York
Yeah.
is up there, but it's London. And I was
Yes.
like, okay, this is where the world is. It's less about the course and more about the connections.
Mhm.
For me,
Okay.
that was it. And I was like, I I did learn quite, like, I don't want to say I didn't learn anything. I did learn quite a few things, but most of the course was stuff that I had already either been doing or had known and just hadn't had the opportunity to do it
Right.
yet.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
fair enough. And then it's that piece of paper at the end that says, okay, I've finished this, and that gives your resume a little bit more, even if you have those skills.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to say yes to that because, I mean, yes. However, I don't think I've used my resume in 15 years.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I don't even
But
know
of
what's on my
course,
resume anymore. It's all irrelevant at this stage.
like, I try to sneak it in there into conversations. Hey, I have a master's in publishing,
Right?
you
Yes. And
know.
everyone's like, whatever. It's
Yes,
nice to
yeah.
be at that stage, right? Where you don't really need that. So, okay. So can you tell us about working for indie authors, covers, and you said typesetting, and you put map artists here too, which I think is fascinating. So what
Yeah.
are the kinds of jobs that you do around this? And I think, is it primarily indie authors that you work with?
Primarily indie authors. However, I have worked with publishers before. And I do have one publisher. I've been working with them, I want to say, for about 7, 8 years now, that I've been doing books that they, for their authors. But I am primarily with indie authors. I started in nonfiction, and a lot of journals, a lot of essays, theses, like, that type of stuff. But I have been pushing myself to go further back, like into fantasy, sci-fi within the author. So, I mean, I still do the not indie stuff, but my focus is indie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So I've been both traditionally published and independently published now. And what I'm learning about indie authors is there's a big learning curve. Like, and I had done it many years. I had done it the first time in 2015, and now 10 years later, I'm like, oh, things have changed. So what do folks like when they're thinking about cover, when they're thinking about like maybe finding a designer, looking for somebody to hire, like a lot of people try to learn to do it themselves. I don't know, like unless you have a background, it's difficult, like I think to make something that's professional. Maybe 10 years ago in 2015 when I was doing it, um, there were a lot more self-produced things. And I just don't know that that's flying anymore. Like I think everyone's raised the bar and they want more professional looking manuscripts and covers. So what did we do? Like where do we start?
Honestly, I'm gonna say that the best thing to do is research because I love it, and this is actually what I tell everybody is, and I'm focusing on covers on this one when I talk
Yeah.
about it. But and I don't want to say competitors, but that is technically, look at competitive titles. Like, look at other books in the same genre, in the same tropes, the same stuff. Look at the covers that they're doing, because as much as and a lot of us, like, we love to complain about, that this is overused and that is overused, like, but it's designed like that for a reason.
Right.
So take a look at that, because the worst thing, in my opinion, that can come from an indie author is you go to a designer and you tell them I want something, and I'm gonna go with the most common trope. You get the swords with the flowers, and
Yes.
yeah, the most
Yeah.
common design styles right now, and you're like, this isn't what I wanted, like, or this is completely different from what I wanted. I'm like, but the designer that you're speaking with, they know what sells.
Yeah.
So trust them. But having said that, still stay true to your point, I would say,
Right.
because it you want, the best way I can think of describing it when it comes to cover design, like what your cover should look like, is it needs to belong with other covers and stand out from them at the same time.
So hard.
It is. And the thing is, that's not your job. That's the
Right.
designer's job to do that. Yeah, it's just so that when you get concepts from a designer, so you're not surprised. That's why I say do the research, know what you should be getting. And that's actually also a good way to see if the designer knows what they're doing as well.
Right. Yeah.
Because if a designer just does whatever, it's like, okay, but this doesn't follow the tropes. This doesn't look like anything else in this. It's a little bit like, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's just, I'm actually going to use my own book as an example for this, the
Oh,
one that I published. So I designed, so the one from the Derby where I had the already pre-designed cover, and that's the cover I'm still using for the ebook.
okay.
But for the print book, I designed my own cover completely. And I had so many people look at it and say, this doesn't fit, this doesn't fit, this doesn't fit. And I'm like, yes, on purpose, read the blurb and you understand why. Because
Okay.
the whole idea of my story was to subvert the common romantasy tropes. So that's why the cover doesn't follow those same tropes. Like it has the same elements, the vector style art, the soft colors, all of that, but it doesn't fit with them because the story itself doesn't fit along those same romantasy books.
So
Like, and
it
I
ends up getting some attraction because people are interested to see, oh, what is this? Because it's not quite what I expected. So you've
that's
almost like used the same technique, but opposite.
Yeah, that's the one thing. And the other thing is the last thing I want is for if my cover looked the exact same way as all romantasy books and somebody who's read all of those books and knows it and reads it, they're not going to get the same type of story from it. So
Yeah.
the cover is misleading if it does follow the tropes
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So those are a few things that just to keep in mind. So stick to your guns, stick to, if you know your story is goes into that genre, but it's different from that genre, then make sure to point that out to your designer. Like it is different. Like
Yeah.
it tells it a different way. So
Right. Okay,
yeah.
that's really good advice. So
Mm.
one of the folks I worked with who designed my cover, I thought this was a good idea. Do you do this as well? Is this typical? He asked for, well, he wanted the book so he could get a sense of what it was like, but also sample covers, like covers from like well-known authors whose books were doing well in that genre to get a feel for what I liked and admired about them. And then he created something completely unique, but it feels like it fits. So I love that idea because I just, I went to a field trip on to the bookstore and looked at all the different covers, different authors that I love. And I think, oh, I would love my book to sit right there. Right. And so I didn't have a vision for the cover at all, which was hard probably to tell him, like, I don't know. But then when he asked for sample covers, that was really fun for me. And, I think that really worked. Is that something that is typically done, or was it just because I had no idea what I wanted for the cover?
Honestly, even if somebody has an idea of what they want for the cover, I still ask them to do that.
Yeah.
But I do more recently, I learned this the hard way. I am all like trial and error
Yes.
experience, but I've started asking for not only like sample covers, not only within your genre,
Okay.
also covers that you like outside of your genre.
Smart.
Because sometimes, especially like as I said, for those differences, for those special cases, if you and again, I'm just because romanticism is stuck in my head, but
Yes. There.
if all of the sample covers you have are like the swords over the flowers or whatever,
Yeah.
but the book covers that you like are like those flat vector image styles, I'm going to try and figure out how to make those work together.
Yeah.
If you didn't give me those vectors, then I'd be focusing on just this. It's a
Right.
good idea to that because that way I'm also getting a sense of what you like as well.
Yeah.
Like I love the idea of reading the book and to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Right.
I wish I had the time to do
Time.
that for every book cover.
Who has time?
Unfortunately.
And I don't even know that he read the whole thing. He probably just read some sample sections just to see, like, get a sense for it. Because yeah, you're right. Like, how do you actually do the work and have time to read all the books? There's just no way. But understanding a
Mhm.
little bit about the story or the genre or something about the themes or the mood of it probably helps. But
Oh, it
yeah, I love
does.
that.
One thing that actually also really helps if when there's no chance to read the book is whenever I can, and I know not a lot of indie authors aren't comfortable, with video chats and stuff like that, but if I can get somebody on a video chat for them to tell me about their book,
Yeah,
because
right.
when you hear the way they talk about it, the excitement behind it, like, oh my God, and I did this, oh, and then there was this part, and then I ended up doing it, when you hear that, it's like, okay, I know these are the parts that you're focusing on in such a short time. So
Yes.
these are the parts that you want to stand out somehow. I'm
You know
like,
why?
okay,
That just gave me chills, and I'll tell you why. Because I think the video call is also making a connection with that person. And I can see how excited you're getting talking to somebody about their book, which makes you excited to do the cover because now you're like in a relationship where they have done that work and you want to make it shine. And like sometimes just doing things through email or you just don't really get to know a person, right? Like you can't tell, you can't even tell tone from email, generally speaking. But to have that conversation and you see how excited they are about their story and you kind of get a sense of it, then I think I'm imagining you would be just as excited. I feel that way when I'm working with book coaching clients. Like I'm always so excited for their story, but because I have these one-on-one conversations with them and we can really dig in. So it becomes like an interesting relationship that you're forming and a bond with that person in their book.
Yeah. And I mean, most of the time, I do have to admit, most of the time I am unable to get on a video chat with them. And that's why usually the message I send is rant to me about your
Right.
book. Give me the rant. Tell me. Like, I want the quick 5 paragraph long email as to
So
why your book is so awesome. If I can't get you on a video call, like, because, like, and as you said, like, when it's in an email, it is harder to, to it. But, like, you can still tell. Like, if
yeah.
somebody writes you a 2 sentence, like, yeah, my book is about this, this, and this, or if it sounds like the professional, like, the oh wow, the word just escaped me, the letters that you send to agents.
Oh, like query letters?
Yes, query, the word just escaped
Yeah.
me, query. Like if it sounds like a query letter, it doesn't give you the same passion as when it's like just rant. Don't care about grammar, I don't
Yeah.
care about proper paragraph, like sentence, just
Yeah.
everything. Like it makes a difference, like
Like
when you
find
see.
that passion and convey that. Oh, I love
Yeah.
this so much. Note to authors out there, indie authors, go on a video call with the person. I think it's so good. Don't be afraid of the video call. It's really useful, I think, to make those connections. So,
It's
so
scary though, you have to admit.
it is scary. Yeah, it is, and especially like, I mean, I think a lot of authors are fairly introverted and, you know, I am too. But also, I think it's a great way to make connections, right? And so I think it's a valuable service that you provide, whether they're ranting in an email or they're having a conversation with you in person. I love this so much. So now we've kind of like looked at the covers in our genre and outside our genre, the things we like, the things we don't like. We have kind of a vision for what we want. We're like looking into designers. Where, what do you suggest we do in terms of finding somebody? Because I think that was a very stressful part of this process for me. I had actually found somebody through a friend and um and I liked the covers he had created, but it turned out like he was moving and there were a lot of things happening in his life and he was busy and I was on a time crunch, and so I ended up not going with him even though that was the original plan, because I really didn't know where to even find designers. Like I didn't know how to search for them. I didn't like, so what do you suggest when it comes to that, the beginning of the search?
Honestly, I have to say this one is a very hard one for me to answer just because like I want to be biased and say, go on my website.
That's right. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
um, but personally, because even though I do cover design, I do actually like I am looking for cover designers myself. Like, you're your own harshest critic. I prefer to critique somebody else than for me to critique myself.
Hear you.
But when I'm looking, I look at covers that I like and I'm looking because I'm a huge fan of typography, like the fonts and the layouts and how the text looks itself.
Right.
That's how I got into design that's how I got into cover design from the inside of the books to the covers.
Oh, crazy.
um, so I look at that, and if I like that, then I look up information for that artist.
Okay.
And I primarily look. I actually don't remember the last time I read a traditionally published book, to tell you the truth. I look at primarily indie authors because I know indie authors are on tighter budgets half the time,
Yeah.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
They usually use designers, like freelance designers, rather than firms and stuff like that. And that's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Um, Word of mouth is a huge one as well, like, and outside of that, I like to look at artist portfolios, like the images themselves. So I'm trying to think of what websites, but for example, Fiverr, let's say. Like I look at portfolios. I don't search for book covers. I search for digital art. Like let's see
Okay.
if somebody's art stuff. And because I do typography myself, if whoever I find doesn't do typography, I'm like, okay, that's easy. At least I can do it.
Right.
But if you are looking for somebody who does everything, maybe narrow down the search a bit. And specifically for things that attract me. That's what I look for, rather than what would be attractive to the genre, which I know isn't always the correct idea, but I think that that's like, yeah, portfolios, websites where you can talk to the person without having to purchase beforehand.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
yeah, that's the
Good.
main thing I'd say.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've talked to about 3 or 4 different artists on Fiverr, and I know it says Fiverr, but it's never $5.
Yes, right.
Like I've talked to a few different artists on there, and I love what I'm seeing in the conversations that I have, but it is much harder to communicate with some of them when it comes to concepts, is one of the things that I have found. So that's what I'm saying. Like there's a difference between searching for a book design, like for a cover designer, and a graphic artist, because
Right.
sometimes graphic artists, they want how many people, what poses, what colors, what background.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
sometimes for cover design, you're like, I don't know what I want. And then they'll post something together. So there
Yes.
is a difference between that, to keep
Okay.
in mind how much you know for what you want and to where to search for it.
Oh,
I hope
such
that
a good
answers it,
point.
because I can't give exact examples where to search
Oh,
for.
but I think that's really wise. Like even just the idea of searching and then once you find somebody who's typesetting or typography or the covers that you love, then dig deeper into them. Go see if they have a website. Go see if you can get a call with them for half an hour and have a conversation about it. Like there's just a lot of tips there that I think are really useful, because it can be frustrating, and always word of mouth. Right? Word of mouth is so good. Like, I mean, there's so many like websites for authors and indie authors these days that you can even plop a question in there and people will answer you, right? They'll, oh, this person did my cover and this person did my cover. And yeah.
That's literally what I was actually just going to say when you were saying that. I use Discord a lot. Like I'm on
Yes.
Discord so much.
Okay.
And there's, even without asking about it, like, people will, say, oh, this is my cover artist. This is my cover artist. TikTok, same thing. Like they do trends all the time. Like this is my human art, like, cover artist, So stuff like that also really does help. Like I do consider that word of mouth, but as well, like if you go into a random well, not a random one, but like a book lover Discord, like where
Yeah.
there's indie authors, and you ask, hey, I'm looking for a cover artist, you're gonna get replies
Yeah. You will.
100%.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
people, and I think that's the beauty of human design is we want to support other humans. We want to like shout out to the people who did the work for us, that like, support them. And like it becomes like a little community of people who are willing to share. Like nobody's like, I'm not telling you who my cover designer is. Like no one's doing that. We're all just like, let me tell you because it could help you. And I mean, you have to make your own choices, but there are lots of places too. Like even if you're a writer who doesn't know other writers, there's so many places online to go
Yeah,
and ask those
definitely.
questions. Yeah. So in other words, it's really about doing your homework, figuring out what you love, figuring out your story and what you want to convey, and then finding the right person who can make that vision come to life for you. But I love what you're saying about what's that? Go ahead.
Within your budget.
Within your
So
budget. Yeah, we haven't even talked
that's
about
the
money.
big one.
Yeah, within your budget. And that's really, really important because I mean, you can pay anything from almost nothing to tons and tons. Um, but yeah, I think it's like very wise to think about it as like you're in control of that, like it's your book
Yeah.
and that person is working with you. But if you can find the right designer, and the other thing I think you mentioned also is like you have to trust that they're a professional and they're going to do like we're the writers who we we might have a vision, but I think that understanding the market and understanding what's going on is important because like I'm sure you're much more up on what's happening out there and how trends are changing than a lot of the writers are. Like we're thinking of we might be working on a book for 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is. And but
And
the cover
trends
artists are like,
changing. Yeah.
Yeah. And you often hear about people who have series like from 10 years ago and they're changing up the covers again now because the book is good, but the covers just are dated or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So yeah. So,
Although I do have to say there is one thing that it is worrisome is make sure, because I don't want to say don't work with an experienced designer. I don't want to say that, because I have to admit, back when I first started working, I was some of the best work that I've done
yeah,
actually, because from what I was just new, like, especially with the cover designs. I was just starting out with cover designs, and I put in everything. Like, I did so many more revisions than I do now, so much. And I'm not saying that I don't put in the same amount of work now, but now that I have the experience behind
right.
it, it's just
Yeah,
faster work. So
yeah,
I spend so much more time. And so working with an inexperienced designer is not a bad thing.
yeah.
The trick, not the trick, the hard thing that I think is it's very hard to find, not very hard. It's very easy to fall for scam designers,
Right.
unfortunately.
Okay.
Is something to definitely watch out for, because even when I've been searching for artists for my own work, I will find a portfolio and I love it. I love everything about this portfolio. I'm going to talk to this person, and then I find out it's not even their art on their portfolio. And then I find out that somebody stole this piece of art from somebody else, and they modified it, and then I find out it's AI art, and it's like, yeah. So it's just be careful to um, not fall for the scams, I would say. And I don't know how a lot of people feel about, like, because I mean, I know that it's very divided when it comes to AI covers and everything, but depending on how you feel about that, I would suggest confirming beforehand. I have actually had people come up to me and say, like, they just want the typography on their art, and I'm like, are you aware that this art is AI? And they're like, my artist said it wasn't. And I'm like,
Uh-oh.
double check. So yeah, just ask for, and I know it can be annoying, but ask for processes. And if an artist gets annoyed by that, apologize, I would say. Like, that's the only thing. But it's better to know beforehand than, you have no idea how many witch hunts I've seen for, somebody says, oh my God, this cover was AI created. And the artist is there showing, like, their process video of how they were drawing it. And people are like, no, it's AI. I'm like, so
Oh, so frustrating. The
yeah,
whole topic of AI, like in every area of creativity, is such a challenge.
it
And
is.
I think
Yeah.
we're just muddling through trying to figure it out because, it's not going away, but also
Mhm.
I don't want it to take over these creative jobs. Like we do want human made things. I think there's a place and I think there's a way to like use it for um processes like sort of the behind the scenes brainstorming or like keeping things organized or your checklists or your spreadsheet, like use it for office stuff that is like so much faster. But like the
Can I
creative
start
part,
doing my laundry, please?
yes, I would love that. That may happen
That's
someday.
what I'm waiting for. I wanted to cook my dinners, wash my dishes, and do my laundry. I like while I'm doing the creative stuff, and
Yes, that is
not me
exactly the
cleaning
dream.
for it.
Agree. That's my dream too. I would just like it to do all the things I don't feel like doing so that I can have fun and enjoy the creative part. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's such a big conversation, but I know some people are quite happily creating covers with AI and are
Mhm.
proudly saying so. And I feel like, okay, if you're doing that and you're owning it, do your thing. Like I don't, do your thing.
To each
But I
their own.
don't like that idea of like using AI and then passing it off as your own creative work. Like let's just be honest about what we're doing and
Yeah.
not trying to do like the writer and saying, "Oh yeah, I made this," and really not at all. Like it just seems so
Yeah.
unfair. But there's a lot of scams out there, like you said.
Yeah. And the problem is, though, that it's getting better and better and harder to tell if it is
Right.
or not. So
Yeah.
that's why, like I said, it will annoy artists for
Yeah.
sure. But I think it's better to just, like, when you're looking at something, double check, like,
Yeah.
ask,
Yeah.
do you use AI? And this is for the people who don't want to, like, mainly, but it's like, do you use it? Like, would you be willing to share a few progress shots throughout, so that uh, there was actually, in one of the Discord servers I was in, somebody had said that they had asked their artist for progress shots specifically so that if somebody starts witch hunting, they can defend their artist. So that way the people aren't going to the artist to complain, but the author was like, no, this,
Yeah,
so.
that's a really great idea. It covers both people and
Mhm.
and you if you can I my head went to social media. If you can use some of those shots as like promo and saying like look at my cover being made and like you're supporting the artist and you're like promoting your book coming and the cover like that could be really fun. Like I can imagine down the road it being sort of a standard procedure to have that happening,
I'd
but we'll
love to
see.
see that. I do love watching, like, on TikTok. I do love watching the videos, like, how going from sketch to the final thing. Like, those are my favorite
Me
ones. So I
too.
would love
Yeah.
something like that for covers on a
Any
regular basis.
artist who is creating something slowly and doing the work, I'm like in a trance watching it. It's so relaxing.
Yes, yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So you've self-published and you work with self-publishing authors. Like, what is some advice you have for authors who are trying to decide between traditional and querying and self-publishing and hybrid. Like there's so many options for publishing now. I don't know that there's any right or wrong avenue. I think it's just personal choice. But what's your thoughts and what's your advice there?
So I'm very biased on this because even though I am self-published, I have a lot of experience with publishers. I've worked at publishers as
Yeah.
well. Like I've actually even had a stint at with Penguin. So I am very biased against publishers.
Okay.
Um, because from my experience with them, it's authors get very little control and get a lot put on their plate that is pretty much, and especially nowadays, because I mean, 10 years, 20 years ago, it was not the same. But nowadays, authors are expected to do pretty much the same amount of work as an indie author, whether they're traditionally published or indie author. It's the same amount of marketing wise that they have to do. Um, the the suggestions I would give is if you get a really good deal, like with a traditional publisher, then go with them. And make sure to understand the math behind um, publishing, because I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, I got a six-figure advance. Okay, not a lot of people, but let's say
Yeah.
you got a six-figure advance. Make sure you know what that means, because having a six-figure advance doesn't mean you're covered for the next 5, 10 years. So that's what I would say. Like, and I don't know how familiar your the regular watchers and listeners of your podcast are, but and I'm just going to use it because it's an easy number: 100,000 advance. That's how much money you get paid as an author, and then basically that's how much money from royalties you will not be seeing. And if it takes 10 years for you to pass that 100, that means for 10 years you're not going to see, you're going to see zero.
That's
I
right.
want, like, people need to be aware of that, and not enough are.
Yeah.
And not enough, in my opinion, a lot of publishers are not very transparent about their processes. Like, I mean, we've seen the big five use AI covers,
Yes.
you know, and they don't tell that to their authors, and authors don't have a say in that either. Yeah. So that's why I said I'm very biased against. But at the same time, if you get a good deal, go for it.
Right.
There are some publishers that I've looked into, and I'm like, oh, I want to be with them. Like, I want to
Okay.
sign on with them. Like, I will work through it.
Yes.
Another thing as well to keep in mind is the timelines, because with self-publishing, not only do you have a lot more, like, you figure out the finances on your own, or you hire somebody to figure out the finances for you. You also have with self-publishing a lot more control over your cover, your interior, your ebook, your dates as to when to publish. With traditional publishers, you have very little to none control of that, unless you're like a huge name, which it's hard to get there nowadays. Yeah, yeah.
These are really great points. Yeah.
Yeah. And one other thing as well is the New York Times bestseller list. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want to be on the list, or I have been on the list, or something like that. And obviously it's much easier to get on the list with, traditionally published. Self-published, actually, I know there have been, but I don't, yeah, but it's a lot easier with traditionally published. The thing is, take a look at how that list is created, because it's actually not that hard for a traditionally published author to be on that list. Like, they make it seem like this huge, like, this is the goal, this is where
Right.
you want to be. not that hard to be on the list if you think about it. For traditionally published, I mean, like
Right.
for indie, it is harder. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and just going back to the point of like those advances people get, and they have to, sell out that advance before they get royalties. If you get an advance and you don't sell it you don't reach that amount, it's hard to get another publishing deal too, right? Like, so that's, you might have gotten a, $100,000 advance, and I'm sure a publishing house is going to put a lot of backing behind you and promoting you and marketing and things, so that hopefully it all turns out well, but it's possible that it doesn't do as well. And then your opportunities for a second book might not be as good. But anyways, I feel like it's really important that authors figure out what is their end goal. Like, it's if New York Times bestselling list is your where you want to go, then figure out how to do that. But also, it doesn't have to be the goal. Like, it doesn't have to be that.
And sorry, when you said that with the book as well, very hard to make another thing as well to keep in mind with traditional publishers. And this is actually more common with the smaller traditional publishers, I do have to say. But be very careful, very carefully read the contracts as to what's included in it,
Right.
because there are some cases where, like, let's say you have your first book, it doesn't meet the advance, they don't want the second book, but your second book is ready and you want to self-publish it,
Yeah.
and your contract says you can't because
Right.
it's part of the storyline that's part of this. And
Right.
then basically, if you had 10 books written,
Oh,
bye-bye. Yeah.
yeah.
So be
I
very, very
never even
careful.
thought about that, but that's a good point. Yeah, those
Yeah.
contracts are something. Like, I remember getting the first contract and just feeling like I didn't understand some of the aspects of it, and trying to look it up and ask people, and people like, and it's not that it was super complicated, but the language is a legal language that we're just maybe not used to. So having somebody else look at it for you, somebody who's in, like a lawyer, or somebody can really tell
Reddit
you what you're
is your
signing.
best friend with that, in my opinion.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
drop if you can, if you're allowed to drop the contract on Reddit and watch people destroy
Yeah,
it.
and they know. That's great. I love that so much, because like, what a great way to get feedback, and then you can, okay, I understand.
But only if you're allowed to, because in some cases you're not even allowed to
Oh,
share the contract.
right.
Like, yeah,
There's a lot
yeah,
of control happening here.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's this is such a
yeah,
fascinating conversation. I just love how much you know about the ins and outs of both the traditional and the independent, and just navigating all of those things. You have so many great pieces of advice. Is there anything else you can, as a last tip for our listeners, about whether they're trying to get into writing, pursue, or like recovering from that teacher who said negative things? How do you bounce back from that? Any little tip or advice for folks?
um like every time I get asked this question, like I always have a different answer. But I think the most important, and every time I say I think the most important thing is right now for me, the most important thing is remember why you started writing.
Oh, I love that.
Because if you started writing to become famous, then you should be writing to the tropes and the styles and for traditional publishing. And like, if you started writing because you have unique ideas that you just want to share with people, that's different. Like, it depends on what your goal is and why you started doing it, as to, in my opinion, at least, that depends on which path you should go. Like, should you be writing for your audience, or should you be writing what you want to write, like, whether it doesn't match your audience or not?
I
So I
love
think that's a big one. And just, I'm going to give this as a tip to writers who are stuck, as like, whether they have writer's block or they haven't written in a while or something like that. If they haven't already, start collecting your reviews. And I know a lot of people say, don't look at your reviews, don't look at your reviews. No, I say start collecting them. I literally have one document for each of my published works with all of the reviews that I've received, good and bad, I don't care.
that.
And when I get back into, like, so for example, the short story that I mentioned, I do have other plans for other short stories in the same universe that I want to do. And every time I'm thinking, oh, is it worth it? Oh, should I try and figure it out? I look at this list and it's like, I'm seeing the comments. And there was one of my the top is my favorite review. It's like, this is my Roman Empire. And I'm like, okay, like, yes, that means I do need to keep writing in this
Yeah,
world for sure,
I
So,
love
and
that.
even the bad reviews, even they help, because it's like, if the bad, as long as they're not, the troll reviews,
Right.
like those are bad. But if it's a bad review along the lines of like, I didn't like the pacing of this, or the characters made no sense, or I was so confused at this part. At least that tells you what to, like, how to learn.
Yeah.
Take that as a critique rather than as a bad review.
Yeah.
So keep a list of your reviews, and when you're stuck, read them. Read that
Oh,
list.
I think I'm going to start doing that. It never occurred to me, but it's such a lovely thing to go back and go, okay, you know what? Like I have readers and I have people who love this, and you're writing for them. You're not writing for everybody, right? So,
Yes.
oh, that's so good. I love all your advice. So tell us where we can find you if people are looking for a cover designer or typesetting or some aspect. Is there a website where they can go to?
So my website is actually currently in progress.
Okay.
Like, it is currently, it has the coming soon. It's had the coming soon for the past 6 months now, unfortunately. I haven't had the time to work on it. I do have a free Wix site, but it has a very weird link, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, if
Uh,
you send it to me, I will put it in the show notes, and then folks can definitely hop on over there and keep an eye out for when you're all up and running again. I mean, that's a big move from Canada to Bulgaria and the UK. So you've been a little
yeah,
busy.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, and I've moved. So we moved in June, and then in November we moved again to a
Wow.
different city.
Yeah.
So
So now you get a little time to like, okay, get
yeah.
settle in.
So yeah. So I don't know if you want it now in the chat or later, but I'll drop the link to the current site that I have. I'll give it to you.
Oh, perfect.
It does have basically, like, it's not up to date for the past 6 months,
That's
unfortunately.
fair. No,
But
absolutely.
it does
That's
have,
great.
yeah, the cover designs, the typesets. I do map design as well.
Oh,
I started doing character art.
okay.
Um,
I did want
so
to ask you about map design. I was going to let you go, but just one more question. So, map design in some genres, like maps are really like important and they're fun. And I love them so much. Like I just want maps and everything. So you're the person who gets to draw the map based on the story.
yeah,
So good. Well,
love it.
tell us about that a little bit.
So it's actually very rarely based on the story. Most of the time,
Okay.
it's based off of a squiggle on paper.
Yes, on a napkin.
I love this. And actually, you could probably even see afterwards on my website, the same friend that I mentioned earlier, Laura. For I did her maps for her book. She's currently working on the third book in her trilogy. And I had asked her for permission for me to share the full process of creating her maps, because I did two different versions of it. And it literally started with, actually, if I remember correctly, it was two pieces of paper taped together. I'm trying to remember, with the squiggle.
Yeah.
And then basically just take it from there, based off of the style that she wants, or that the author wants, and based off of their budget, because I do different styles based off of budget. Like, whether it's I've done some where I've literally hand drawn on a tablet, still digital. Like, I've hand drawn every mountain, every cliff, every city, like the icons. I've done maps where I use the automatic. Like, I have a huge set of brushes and styles, like on Photoshop.
Yeah.
I've done 3D relief style maps in color, where you can actually see, like the volcano with the red on top. So it depends on what people want, and primarily on what they're going to be using it for.
Right.
Because maps are awesome for the books, but 90% of the time, indie authors are like, oh, swag. I
Yeah,
want
that's
a
true.
that poster. I want this. And it's
Yeah.
having a poster, this size is completely different from having the tiny little map in your book
Yeah,
that's black and white. So
that's a good point. Oh, that's so exciting. I didn't even think of swag, but of course. And like social media posts and like all kinds of things, right? Oh, it's so fun. Oh, I could talk to you all day. Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking time out to chat with us, and definitely we'll share your information so that people can find you, and hope that you come back sometime and let us know how things are going. And I know you'll be back into the writing game as well. So that's exciting.
I'm 5 chapters away from finishing a book. I need to finish
I
it.
love
So
it. Yep. That's always that you can see the end is in sight. It's a great moment. I love it. Okay. Well, thanks so
thank you. And thank you so much for having me, for doing this whole thing, for leading it. Like, I honestly, I love what you do, and I wish you all the best in continuing to do this. Like,
That's very
you're-
kind. Thank you so much. I believe writers need sisu, strength, courage, and determination to get their projects done, and I can help you access your sisu. Are you working on a novel or memoir? You don't have to do it alone. Join us in the Women Writing Circle. We meet bi-weekly for 90 minutes to get pages done. Or consider applying for an upcoming group book coaching program to develop the foundational elements of your story in a supportive community. These 8-week-long programs include weekly coaching calls, goal setting, craft discussion, and personalized feedback on writing tasks. If you'd prefer to work one-on-one, contact me about one of my coaching packages at lisakovalabookcoach.com. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to have a coffee break with us at Women Writing. Don't forget to subscribe to Women Writing on Substack. If you like this episode, share it with someone who needs a writing break and a little inspiration. Happy writing! Thank you to Michael Jensen for his original music and editing, and to Mia Jensen for the logo design.